I'm hot. It's summer. I was working in the backyard. Miserable. I got lines on my face because the sun was on me, and also my BiPAP mask is just uncomfortable. Whatever. I'm still making a video because what I've been seeing over the last, I'm going to say particularly the last 72 hours, particularly the last 48 hours, is an escalation in rhetoric, an escalation in violence that is deeply concerning. And you may be wondering, what's the difference here? Like, what happened? Like, no more statues were being torn down. Murders in Chicago were about the same as what they were. Okay, a few more people got stabbed and shot, and there was that dude in Milwaukee that got murdered for being a Trump supporter. But how bad is it really? It's really bad. And it's really bad because of the way the rhetoric has evolved. It's no longer these people are secretly Nazis or Trump's secretly a Nazi and everybody's stupid for following them on the right, him on the right. It's Trump is doing Nazi things. He's an overt Nazi, and the right is tacitly endorsing this because they've been Nazis all along. That's a huge, huge difference in rhetoric. Both are obviously completely wrong, but that's what they're saying now. Is that they lie about what happening in Portland? You know, Antifa can show up with circular saws and torches and throw stuff, and they can still say we're being oppressed by the feds. They can lay siege to the federal courthouse and then get arrested for breaking into the federal courthouse, but someone will snap a picture and say, "Oh my God, look at this lady getting arrested! It's oppression." The media is going to follow along with it. The Democratic Party, particularly if you've seen their recent attack ads, absolutely going along with it. That's dangerous. This is the same type of manipulation and BS that the Democrats did, with the exception of the word fascism, because that wasn't, coined at that point. But it's the same thing as what they did during the Civil War. I should say, what led up to the Civil War. And what actually sparked the final conflict? An armed group, essentially a military group, now, whether it was a militia or the army or whatever, basically an armed Southern group, attacked and took a federal fort. That is all it took to essentially lead to the complete split. Because the Fed said, no, we're going to go down and hold these people accountable. And then the locals said, nope. The states said, no. Democrats down there, they said, no. We feel we're being oppressed. And then that's it. There's a split. There's a fight. Led to basically people fighting to preserve the Union and people fighting to have the Democratic States of America and the Confederacy. But it was basically like they wanted the Democratic Party to run things. This is the same rhetoric we're seeing. Now, I don't think the Democrats are intentionally doing this. At least I hope to God they're not. But they're feeding into it. And I say Democrats, I mean the elected officials. I don't think they want a civil war, but I think they're not afraid of one at all. So they pretty much say whatever they think will hurt the president, whether it's true or not. I was actually wrong in my first video talking about Antifa in Portland, because I talked about the federal agents, how they don't have to have a badge displayed, which is true. But these guys did. I didn't even notice this until someone had pointed it out, that the numbers that are on their jackets, basically like they have a big old patch, that's their badge number. I didn't know that. So these guys are not secret police. They're actually fully identified. And basically they were polling people and then taking them to the courthouse and detaining them and questioning them. And then if they determined, like, this is the person we're looking for to arrest because it was somebody who threw a firebomb, someone who had breached and then got away, they were arresting them. And then if not, they were just letting them go. That's not illegal, especially during a riot. That's not oppression. But you wouldn't know that by, especially if you're listening to people on the left, especially a lot of these celebrity accounts and B-listers, and then sometimes your friends you just see online. They're saying some stuff that it's untrue, but it's so untrue that it's a call to arms for the far left. and we're going to start seeing a serious escalation in violence. And I don't see how it doesn't devolve into a shooting war if they continue down the path they're going. A Democrat or whatever it is, far left militia shows up, they start shooting at the feds, right? And what happens? The feds shoot back, and then there's a fight, and then somebody in the middle is caught, and then the left says the federal forces fired on peaceful protesters, despite the fact that there's a riot, and then the right says, well, this militia showed up and they started using live ammunition, besieging a federal force, and they returned fire. So what was wrong with that? Now you got to fight. Because it's a narrative fight. Because the left is going to claim until they lose the civil conflict they start, they're going to claim that the federal government initiated this. That's what's going on. That's where this is headed. And I hope the cooler heads will figure out that this is not a good strategy. I think what the Democrats are trying to do in terms of what the Democrat Party, the big brains, are trying to do, they're trying to drive us as close, as unhappy, and make it as dangerous as possible up until the election. They don't want open conflict to happen, because if open conflict happens, well, then kind of the debate is over and the shooting starts. And that wouldn't be good for the Democrats, because the right now would be really pissed off. And people in the middle would be really pissed off. They'd be like, why did you drive it to this point? Like, okay, maybe we didn't like Trump, but like, you were trying to burn down a federal courthouse. Why did you start an open conflict? They know it would be a problem for them, unless they really plan on seceding, secession, succeed, similar words, mean completely different things. I don't think they're actually planning on that, but I think they want to drive that line. They want to get the left as angry as possible for the dumbest reasons. Because if you convince somebody that Trump and his supporters and all these other people, if you convince them that they're fascists and they're Nazis and they're committing crimes, right? Trying to unconvince somebody of that is much harder. It's hard to compromise now with those people. Now they have no compromise and no quarter for the people on the right. They have no tolerance for them because they think that they're Nazis. Who tolerates Nazis? Nobody likes Nazis. But then the discussion's over. You don't have a debate. Like, you think Trump and Biden are going to debate at this point? Nope, not the way the Democrats are going about it. Because they'll say, we don't want to dignify this fascist with the debate, because he's not really president, blah, 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 or something. They'll say whatever their nonsense is. I think they're going to try to get enough people enraged where it's either try to demoralize the right or fire up every single person every person who can vote, who buys into their BS. They want to vote, because there's this big problem where they get the far left angry, and they start rioting and they throw stuff and they do things. But then, especially the young left, they don't really show up to vote. They they're just being hooligans because they believe in communism or something, and they haven't even registered. That's a problem for the left. The violence and the mass demonstrations don't usually translate into votes. It's not the problem on the right, because the right, people tend not to demonstrate because they just kind of want to get along with their lives. And when they do, you've basically really energized some people. If they're showing up with protest signs and they're from the right, well, usually it's because they're energized and they're actually pissed off. And I can guarantee you all of them are voting and have been voting and will vote. On the left, you don't get that. You just don't, and that's just kind of always how it's been. Hence the younger crowd. But the left's going to try to... the Dems are really... This rhetoric, it's starting to spiral. What happens if they... What happens, hopefully, God willing, when they lose in November? What happens? Do they accept it? Do they say, well, it doesn't matter because, we're not going to allow a Nazi to be in charge? I mean, I wouldn't, I would fight against Hitler, right? If I was German, right? And the Nazis took over, I'd be fleeing Germany. That's what I would be doing. But that's not what they're saying for these people. They actually think that they can win a fight against the Republicans, for lack of a better enemy. Moderates, people on the left, people who think everybody's stupid, people who think that the politics is pointless, and people who don't vote. If you're watching this, try, at least attempt, to de-radicalize your left-wing friends. You're showing a picture of a lady getting arrested, take the time, do a little research, guarantee you're going to find out she breached the federal courthouse or something. Or you can just say, well, this picture doesn't say anything, it just shows somebody getting arrested. Just show that, like, you're not as enraged as they are, because it's the self-righteous perpetuation. They think they're extremely angry, and because they're so angry, everybody else must be angry. It's not, because other people are looking at things from different perspectives, and other people have, facts and information, and they'll just guzzle the media's crap and the far left's crap. And particularly, Antifa, they're really good with media manipulation. I did a short video on that before. They were extremely good at media manipulation. Media manipulation is so good that in the beginning of the night, they have their rally stuff at Portland. And for example, the last one from, I think it was from last night, that was going viral, is that they all had their phones out. They were singing, "Hands up, don't shoot." It was a, powerful image. And I was seeing, like, foreigners retweet that, because it's like, whoa, that's, that's a thing. Hands up, don't shoot was a complete lie. Anybody who actually followed what happened in Ferguson found out that was, that was a complete lie. That was basically Michael Brown's accomplice who started the whole hands up, don't shoot thing, which led to the riots and the insanity. When Michael Brown had actually grabbed a police officer's gun, reached in his car window, grabbed his gun, and shot the police officer in the hand, and then was shot in the struggle. Hands up, don't shoot never happened. Never occurred. There wasn't an ounce of truth to it. And that guy the guy who lied to the media, he probably should have been charged. But, they don't have the political capital to do that, so they don't. But a whole crowd of people repeating that lie, somehow connecting, because, 1 minute it's Antifa and it's fighting fascism, and then the next minute it's Black Lives Matter. There's not really, it's just whatever, if you criticize something, they'll have a defense. They'll say, well, you're defending fascists. And then if you out-debate them on that, they'll say, well, you don't care about black lives. It's impossible. And they're really good with the media stuff. They know the way images work. They know, basically, run the cameras, and then when the cop gets hit in the face and he gets beat and the person throws a firebomb, don't use that footage. Only use the footage when the cop sprays him back with a pepper spray or ends up fighting back and hitting him with a baton. Use that footage. Why do you think these little bite-sized clips you see on Twitter and stuff? Usually there's more footage before that, and it's not so generous to the protesters, rioters. So, that's my concern. De-radicalize these people if you can, because it's going to lead to a fight. And that's not good. That's not good for anybody involved. That's not good for moderates in the middle. That's not good for people who just don't even care. Maybe you're just like, this is all stupid. Guess what? It's going to come to your front door. It's not the right trying to start a fight here. It's the left. They believe things that are not only untrue, but dangerous. Dangerous, because they ascribe motive to the right. Again, it went from secret Nazis to now overt Nazis. So now, because Trump is so clearly doing this open, overt fascism, which he's not, but they believe this, and because the right is fully endorsing it and at least arguing back, they can't see this fascism that is magical, but that the left's seeing, which is just from them, having a very narrow perspective. Now, what alternatives have they given themselves but to fight? Dangerous. very dangerous, very concerning. So, whatever. That's my video for today. I might do another one later, but talk to your friends. Get them off that ledge, because this isn't going to end well if it continues. It's not going to end well. So, that's all.